My name is Richard. I love watches more than anything. Though that might sound a bit too pretentious. I can really keep gazing at a clock forever while it continues to tick the time away accurately. It's calming for the soul. What got me into the charm of watches was a visit to a watch museum with my grandfather when I was a child. The sight of various clocks, all pointing to the exact same time, was breathtaking, and it left me absolutely mesmerized. I still can forget the sensation I had to this day. My grandfather has passed away now, but when he did, he left me a watch that he cherished. It was quite a high-end vintage piece, but he said, "I want you, who loves watches, to have it," so I gratefully accepted it. I carried that heirloom watch with me at all times, treasuring it deeply. Surprisingly, my grandfather's watch has been quite useful in my career. Many of my bosses and the higher-ups at our clients are watch enthusiasts, and they all latch onto the watch I wear and my knowledge of watches. "You're young, but you have rich knowledge of watches. It's heartwarming to have such conversations," they would say, and I ended up being quite favored. Once, I overheard my boss, Greg, lamenting, "My cherished watch is broken, but it's an old one, so it seems the local watch shops can't fix it." I wanted to help somehow, so I made a list of shops that might be able to repair it and gave it to Greg, who was delighted, saying, "You went to the trouble of gathering this. Thank you, I'll check them out right away." Like this, my knowledge of watches has proven to be very useful in my everyday life. One day, after finishing some outside work and returning to the office, Greg called me over with a gesture. "It's a special request for you," he said with a smile, handing me what looked like an invitation. "What's this?" "It's an invite to a barbecue hosted privately by President Thompson of our client company. Being invited to this is an honor." I had heard about it. This barbecue party was rumored within the company to be an event where Mr. Thompson invites only those he truly trusts. "Wait, I'm invited." "Yes, that's right, be happy. It's proof that Mr. Thompson likes you." I remember I had once given Mr. Thompson some tips on how to care for watches. Our conversation was very lively. I could feel my face turning red with excitement. "Oh, and by the way, the daughter of another client, also a watch enthusiast like you, mentioned you, Amy, was it?" Greg told me with a grin. "That sounds like someone I'd get along with. It's rare to find a woman who loves watches." I was looking forward to the barbecue even more. On the day of the barbecue, I was assigned to the grilling duty, busily cooking meat while enjoying conversations with the participants. I hadn't eaten much meat yet, but I was having a great time talking about watches and work. Then, a woman approached me. "Haven't you eaten much yet?" Yes, I enjoy grilling." "That's unusual, but since there's plenty of delicious meat, you should eat. I'll help you grill." "Thank you very much, I'll take you up on that offer." I let her take over the grilling and started eating at a nearby table. "Oh, you're right. This is delicious." "I told you, typical of Mr. Thompson, you'd miss out if you don't eat a lot." "Indeed." As I eagerly ate the meat, the woman gazed intently at my hands and suddenly remarked, "That watch is very lovely." "Thank you. It's an heirloom from my grandfather. I see that you cherish it deeply. It's well maintained. Your grandfather would be proud." The woman said this with a gentle smile. Could this woman be Amy, the watch enthusiast Greg mentioned? I decided to ask her directly. I haven't introduced myself. My name is Richard. By any chance, are you Amy?" Sorry for not introducing myself earlier. Yes, I'm Amy Johnson." "I thought so. I heard there was a woman here who loves watches." After introducing ourselves, it felt like we became closer. Amy and I kept talking, moving from watches to our jobs and hobbies, just the two of us. It was so enjoyable that time flew by. Before I knew it, the barbecue was winding down. It was completely dark around us. It's gotten quite late. Sorry for keeping you talking for so long. No, I really enjoyed it. Time just flew by. Me too. Since it's dark now, if you don't mind, may I walk you home? Really? If it's not too much trouble, then please. Despite all the talking, I felt like I still had so much more to say. I wanted to spend more time with Amy. But Amy's house was close, and we arrived there all too soon. I didn't want it to end. Feeling this way, I mustered my courage and said to Amy, I really enjoyed today. I'd love to talk more with you. Would you like to go out for a meal sometime? Amy looked a bit surprised at first but then smiled and answered, I'd be happy to. I was thinking the same thing. Let's exchange numbers. Overwhelmed with joy, I couldn't help but pump my fist in the air, and Amy, seeing this, giggled happily. And so, after a few meals together, Amy and I started dating. Being with her, I realized that Amy was a very kind woman who naturally cared for others. She wouldn't hesitate to help someone in trouble on the street, seeing it as the natural thing to do. Not everyone can do that, even if they think they should. And yet, she was also playful, often teasing me with cute pranks. Each time I fell for one, Amy would laugh joyously, and I found myself falling for her more and more. I once asked Amy what she found attractive about me. Amy, what do you like about me? Maybe it's your watch. My watch. Seeing my reaction, Amy laughed sweetly and said, just kidding. But when I saw that watch, I really thought, this man must be wonderful. You took such good care of an old watch. It made me think, this man must cherish things and people alike. You really thought so? After being with you, I became sure my judgment was right, like how you'd subtly switch sides with me to walk on the car side of the road. I feel cherished. It makes me very happy to be with you, Richard. Overwhelmed by emotion, I was at a loss for words. Amy gently held my hand and gave me the most radiant smile. On our second anniversary of dating, I had decided to propose to Amy. After celebrating at a slightly more upscale restaurant than usual, I broached the subject with Amy. Amy, there's something important I want to discuss. What is it? Well, we've been together for 2 years now, and, well. I handed Amy a small box and finally said, will you marry me? The time it took for Amy to speak felt like an eternity. I was too scared to look at her face, but Amy opened the small box I had offered and said, the watch. Yes, I know it's customary to give a ring, but I want us to walk together as a family, sharing the same time from now on. Actually, it's a paired watch. That's wonderful. It's so you, Richard. With slightly tearful eyes, Amy said, I look forward to our future together. Yes. I did a big fist pump just like I did on our first night. Amy, just like that night, was looking at me with a gentle smile. Seeing her smile, I swore in my heart to always make Amy happy. With our marriage decided, I went to meet Amy's parents. I had already met Amy's father, Bill Johnson, for business, and remembered him as a gentle person, but I was still nervous. Seeing my awkwardness, Amy reassured me, just be yourself, Richard. It'll be fine. When we arrived at her parents' house, my in-laws welcomed us warmly. Well, Richard becoming my son-in-law, I'm really happy about that. Thank you very much. We're family now. Take good care of Amy for me. Yes, I will. I'll definitely make her happy. Bill nodded in satisfaction at my words, then lavished us with food and drinks. As expected, the conversation turned to watches, and I got carried away talking and drinking. Then, when I stood up to go to the bathroom, a shocking incident occurred. Staggering from drunkenness, I nearly fell and, in the process, hit my heirloom watch against the corner of a table, breaking it. I sobered up instantly. As I sat there, pale and unable to stand, Amy rushed over, asking, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine. But the watch. I guess I'd rank a bit too much." "Dad, can anything be done to fix it? Richard really treasures that watch." Bill thought for a moment, then suddenly stood up and hurried out of the living room. Amy and I waited, dumbfounded, until he returned with a file in hand. Without a word, he flipped through the file, stopped at a page, smiled slyly, and said to us, "I know a good repair shop. It's close by and run by an acquaintance of mine, so if you'd like, I can take it in for repair." "Really? Are you sure?" "Of course, it's no trouble. Once it's repaired, you two can take a walk and pick it up together." "Thank you very much. Please take care of it." Gratefully, I left the watch in Bill's care. A few days later, he contacted us to say the repair was done, and Amy and I decided to pick up the watch together. I was planning to drive, but Amy suggested, "Let's walk there, it'll be good exercise." So, we decided to walk to the shop. Dressed casually in a t-shirt and sweatpants, I felt at ease. Amy was right. Walking was the best choice. I enjoyed the peaceful walk to the watch shop. The shop turned out to be a renowned high-end watch store. It's quite impressive that Bill knows this shop. I entered the store, feeling grateful. However, I found it odd that none of the staff greeted us. Not even a simple hello. Could it be that they hadn't noticed us? After a short wait, another customer, dressed in an expensive suit, came in. The staff greeted the new customer with a friendly "Hello, sir," and immediately attended to them. It became apparent that we were being ignored. Annoyed, I approached the receptionist and said, "Excuse me." The staff then looked at me with a clearly condescending gaze and uttered shocking words. "Excuse me, but I don't think you belong here." "What? You don't look like you have any money. You are just here to window shop, aren't you? What's with this disrespectful attitude?" I was seething, but I needed to pick up the watch, so I tried to remain calm and told the staff, "I'm here to pick up a watch that was sent for repair." "Repair your watch? That's ridiculous. We wouldn't accept such a cheap item for repair." What an unpleasant person. "It's not cheap. It's a top vintage piece worth more than $1 million. I retorted loudly, getting carried away, but the staff continued to mock me. They clearly weren't taking me seriously. Despite my casual appearance, it's unfair to be treated this way based on looks alone. I didn't want this person handling my beloved watch. Just as my frustration was about to peak, Amy, who had been silent until then, suddenly spoke up. "You're right. A watch worth $1 million doesn't belong here." "What?" "It was a good decision to leave it with the watchmaker next door." What does she mean?" Confused, I listened as Amy explained. "Sorry for not saying anything. My father had asked me to investigate this store. I'll explain the details later." Okay, but what about my watch?" "It's with a long-standing shop next door. Don't worry, it's in good hands," Amy said with a mischievous smile, then called her father on her phone, speaking loudly enough for the whole store to hear. "Hello, Dad. Just as we thought, there's a problem with this store. Yes, I think it's okay to take action." After hanging up, Amy turned back to the receptionist and said, "Well then, we'll be leaving. I doubt we'll meet again." The staff scoffed, retorting to Amy, "You're a poor young girl. Do you think you can bring down our store? What could you possibly do? That's why this store is failing, judging people by their appearance. You'll soon realize your mistake." "Huh, such a bold lady." The staff still seemed to believe that Amy was just a poor girl. But I knew that Amy was a wealthy businesswoman's daughter, and I had a feeling she and her father were up to something. After watching Amy confidently walk out of the store, I decided to quietly inform the receptionist. "You keep calling her poor, but just so you know, she lives in that mansion over there and her father is a president." The receptionist's eyes widened in shock, looking at me in astonishment. Her face quickly turned pale. "You might think she can't do much, but when she says she'll do something, she does it. It might be best not to underestimate her too much. Though it's probably too late for that now." Before I could finish, the receptionist dashed to inform what seemed to be the manager. I could see the manager probably coming to apologize, but I pretended not to notice and hurried after Amy. Leaving the high-end watch store, we headed to the reputable old watch shop next door. Seeing the repaired watch working as before filled me with relief. We thanked the shop owner and left. On our way back, Amy explained the situation. One of Dad's friends, who works at a watch manufacturing company, came to him with a concern. This friend was troubled because, despite the high quality of their watches, the reputation was poor and sales were low. Upon seeing the watches, my father-in-law remarked, "These are excellently made. It's strange for them to have such a bad reputation," and began his investigation. As a result, suspicion fell on the retail stores as the potential cause of the issues. "That's why my dad asked me to investigate," Amy explained. "I see, but you could have told me." "You're not good at pretending, Richard. You can't lie." "True. If I had known in advance, I might have acted suspiciously. I had us deliberately dressed casually. That's why I insisted on walking." "Now that you mention it, you did keep suggesting we walk." "I had no clue." I could only offer a wry smile and raise my hands in surrender. Amy looked pleased with herself, wearing a mischievous grin. Later, curious about what had become of the notorious store, I decided to visit again. Standing in front of the store, I saw a closed sign hanging on the door. Had they already been shut down? As I stood there in shock, Bill emerged from inside. "Hi, Bill." "Ah, Richard. What a coincidence. What brings you here?" "Oh, I was just curious about what happened to the store." "I see. I was just inside, finalizing the acquisition with the manager, Sam." Bill chuckled. Then the door opened and a tearful Sam burst out, pleading, "President Johnson, please wait. Please, give me another chance. I'll ensure we fully commit to staff training this time." Hearing this, Bill turned around with an icy stare and said, "Another chance? You should have had plenty of opportunities to make amends. I've heard this store has received numerous complaints." "Well, I'm sorry, but it's over for you. All the employees here will be let go." "No. I can stand the thought of such fine watches being mishandled by people like you. It's unfair to the watches." Feeling the same way, I was relieved by Bill's strong reprimand. Then, turning to me with a gentle tone, he said, "Come on, Richard. You should stop by our place." Following that, I was treated to dinner at Amy's house. As Bill poured me a drink, he said, "We're thinking of focusing more on the watch business." "That sounds great. I wanted to ask you something." "Yes." "Would you lend us your expertise? We want someone with your knowledge and passion for watches to be involved in our watch business." Moved by his earnest look, I felt a surge of enthusiasm. If my love for watches can be of use, I'd be glad to help. "Yes, I will, of course. Thank you." And so, I began working for Bill's company. I want to use my long-standing knowledge of watches to contribute to the company. Above all, I want to share the beauty of watches with many more people. With this in mind, I'm giving my all to work every day.